The night was dark and shrouded in an eerie silence that seemed to hang heavy over the battlefield. I crouched low in the muddy trench, my fingers trembling as I clutched the cold metal of my rifle. The acrid smell of damp earth and gunpowder filled the air, and the distant rumble of artillery fire was a constant reminder of the chaos that raged beyond our makeshift sanctuary. I was Private Theodore Ted Carmichael, a soldier in the Allied forces, and this desolate trench was my home. It was 1944, and the world was engulfed in the flames of the Second World War. I had seen horrors that no man should witness, but tonight, as I waited for the impending battle, a different kind of fear gnawed at my insides, the fear of the unknown. My comrades huddled nearby, their faces etched with weariness and fear, their eyes reflecting the same uncertainty that plagued my thoughts. We were a ragtag group of men from different walks of life, brought together by the call of duty and the shared hope of a brighter future. Sergeant Franklin, Frank Reynolds, a grizzled veteran with a scar that ran across his cheek, called out orders in a hushed voice, his eyes darting between each of us. "Stay low, keep your heads down, and for God's sake, don't let those jitters get the best of you. We've trained for this, and we'll get through it together." I nodded, trying to quell the storm of emotions raging inside me. The weight of the world seemed to rest on our shoulders, and the fate of nations hung in the balance. But in that moment, all I could think of were the faces of my family back home. The mother who kissed me goodbye, the father who had served in the Great War, and the younger sister who had sent me letters filled with hope and longing. The hours passed slowly, and the chill of the night seeped into my bones. Thoughts of home provided a temporary respite from the impending battle, and I drifted into a restless sleep, haunted by dreams of laughter, love, and a world untouched by war. I was abruptly awoken by the blaring of sirens and the harsh, echoing commands of our officers. "Up, up, up! It's time, men! Brace yourselves!" Sergeant Reynolds barked, his voice carrying a mix of determination and grim resolve. As we climbed out of the trench and into the unforgiving darkness, the distant thud of artillery shells grew louder, like the pounding of a monstrous heart. We moved forward, a sea of helmets and rifles, with only the cold moonlight to guide our way. The battlefield was a surreal nightmare, a desolate landscape of craters, barbed wire, and shattered trees. Flashes of artillery fire illuminated the night, revealing the grotesque tableau of war, the fallen soldiers, the wreckage of tanks, and the acrid smoke that hung low in the air. We pressed on, our boots sinking into the muck, our hearts pounding in our chests. Fear clung to us like a second skin, but we couldn't afford to let it paralyze us. We were the Allied forces, and we carried the hopes of a world yearning for liberation. The enemy was close, lurking in the shadows of a nearby ridge. Every step we took was met with an eerie silence, broken only by the whisper of the wind and the distant echoes of battle. My mind raced with the knowledge that at any moment, the tranquility could shatter into chaos. And then it happened. The deafening roar of machine gun fire erupted from the ridge, cutting through the night like a scythe. Bullets zipped past us, kicking up dirt and mud. We hit the ground, seeking cover wherever we could find it. Sergeant Reynolds bellowed orders, and our training kicked in. We returned fire, our rifles cracking in the darkness. The battle was a symphony of violence, an orchestra of destruction that seemed to stretch on for an eternity. Amidst the chaos, I caught glimpses of my comrades, faces contorted in rage, fear, and determination. We fought not only for our own survival but for the lives of those we had left behind, for the promise of a world free from tyranny. As the night wore on, the tide of battle shifted in our favor. The enemy's fire wanted, and we pushed forward, gaining ground with each hard-fought step. It was a brutal struggle marked by loss and sacrifice, but the resilience of the human spirit prevailed. Dawn broke, casting a pale light over the battlefield, revealing the grim aftermath of the night's violence. The enemy had retreated, leaving behind the wounded and the fallen. My heart ached as I looked upon the faces of those who had given their lives for a cause greater than themselves. Sergeant Reynolds, his uniform stained with dirt and blood, surveyed the scene with a mixture of sorrow and pride. "We did it, lads. We held the line," he murmured, his voice heavy with emotion. It was a somber victory, one that came at a great cost, but it was a victory nonetheless. In the days that followed, we pressed forward, driving the enemy back and inching closer to our objective. The battle had left its mark on each of us, a haunting reminder of the brutality of war. But we carried on, driven by the belief that our sacrifices were not in vain. As the war raged on, I often found myself staring at the photographs of my family that I kept tucked in my breast pocket. Their faces were a source of strength and determination, a reminder of the world I longed to return to. Through the trials and tribulations of battle, I forged bonds with my comrades that transcended the horrors of war. We became a band of brothers, bound by a shared purpose and an unbreakable camaraderie. In the face of danger, we found courage, and in the darkness we discovered the light of hope. The war would eventually come to an end, and I would return to a world forever changed by the echoes of history. The scars of battle would remain etched into my soul, but I would carry with me the memories of those who had fought and fallen beside me. As I stood on the battlefield, the echoes of valor ringing in my ears, I couldn't help but wonder if the sacrifices we had made would pave the way for a future free from the horrors of war. I prayed that one day the world would know peace, and the memories of the fallen would serve as a reminder of the cost of conflict. And so, as I looked toward the uncertain horizon, I knew that our struggle was not in vain. We were soldiers of the Allies, and our legacy was one of resilience, sacrifice, and the unwavering belief in the possibility of a better world.